Once again, good afternoon. Right, Table 5 in the Gunn Report every year is the countries table. And Chapter 5 and Table 5 identify and review the 25 most awarded countries in the world in the year that's just passed. In 2013, we had a debut into the table by South Korea, which means that there's now 41 countries in the world in 15 years, since it started in 1999, that have ever been in Table 5 of the Gunn Report. And 15 of the 25 places are taken every year by the regulars. They've been in the table every year out of 15. So that really means that there's 26 other countries scrapping it out each year for the remaining 10 places, and with others like Indonesia and Russia and Romania knocking on the door to get in. Here's the top 10 from the table last year. So there's 15 below that who are in the table. Now, Germany and Argentina and Japan are always in the top 10. They've been in the top 10 every year out of 15. Sweden have often been in, but we have a gatecrasher at number 9, and that is India. India first started appearing in the table around about 2006 and has gone up steadily every year and actually crashed the table last year, 2013. And China, by the way, is often linked with India in terms of hugeness of countries. China, again, started appearing in the table only about 2006 and has gone up every year, but not quite as fast as India. But they were 13th equal in 2013 last year. And also, of course, 3 years ago, China overtook Germany to be the third biggest country in the world in advertising market size. Here's a chart. No, there isn't. Here's a chart that shows you the top 5. Right, fifth was France, and fourth was Brazil. Big gap in points between them. And now, every year of the Gunn Report, in the first 14 years, the same two countries have been number 1 and number 2, the USA and the UK, and actually in that order every year, except for one, which was 2006, when the UK had a bit of a dream hand. But the UK did not come second in 2013. They did very well, 193 points. Second in 2019 came Australia, romping in with 209 points. And USA were first once again. And this chart will just show the rankings of Australia and New Zealand over the past 5 years. So you see that Australia's gone swooping up the chart from 10th to 3rd in 2012 and 2nd last year. New Zealand has also been advancing, not at quite such a rapid pace. We should remember that Australia is the 7th biggest advertising market in the world. New Zealand is the 38th, so it's quite a small market. So that's an amazing achievement. In fact, over the years, Argentina and New Zealand are consistently the two markets that bat the most above their weight. Now, Australia and New Zealand advertising and creativity had a previous golden age. And in my view, that was in the early and mid-1980s, i.e. just about 30 years ago. And many of us over here thought of them a bit like this, but they were doing ads a bit like this.
O'Reilly, Pierce, Kowalski, Brown, and Gallagher.
It's from my girl Shirley. We're going to be married.
Dear John, oh how I hate to write. Dear John,
Shirley.
I must let you know tonight that my love for you has gone. So I'm sending you this song. Tonight I'm with another. You like him, John? He's your brother. So adieu to you forever, dear John.
Play it again, John.
No, it hadn't always been that good. In the 1970s, TV advertising became huge in both Australia and New Zealand, and typically Aussie and Kiwi advertising, especially for big brands with big budgets, tended to be an imitation of the British hard sell school. In other words, repeat the consumer proposition 3 times, and in the payoff, issue instructions. And there was a big two-way traffic going on in the 70s. Ad people, especially creatives, were coming to London from over there and going out there. At any one time, I was told 1/3 of the creatives in a typical Sydney agency would be Poms. And the norm was also, in the ads over there, for some reason, clipped imitation British voiceovers. The pommier and the plummier, the better. And no one was pommier and plummier, as well as never off the box, in fact, than Stuart Wagstaff. This is the gentleman English actor in his beautiful Savile Row DJ who presented Benson and Hedges cigarettes on TV. Then came a campaign that upset the apple cart. In 1979, the Rothmans Fag Company in Australia was trembling at the knees. Benson Hedges, helped by Stuart Wagstaff, was market leader and still growing. But moreover, the young people were migrating thousands every day to Marlborough, like was happening around the world. So Rothmans had a final gamble and put their shirts on a new brand called Winfield. And it used the Marlborough pack design upside down. And the campaign, which is a grandiose launch campaign that was developed, featured thunder and lightning and had the Winfield name in Hollywood-style giant letters astride Ayers Rock. Now, while they were getting this ready, at the same time, there was a painter who worked on the Harbour Bridge in Sydney, a painter, and his name was Paul Hogan. And there was a TV news magazine show that used to go out for its current affairs editions and get the views of men and women in the street. And so one day Hogs was interviewed and told them what he thought about something. And a lot of people phoned up and said, we need more of that. So he was actually drafted in to be the panel on, be a panel that they had with commenting on the news every week. And the agency, Hertz Walpole, persuaded the client at the last minute to ditch the giant letters campaign and do this instead.
G'day. I've been asked to talk to you, see, and being the suave, sophisticated man about town, I thought I'd do the job with a bit of, polish, a touch of class. So I'll get the boys back here to set the scene with a bit of the old mood music. When you're ready, Boris. Anyhow, what I got here is a new brand of cigarettes, Winfield. Have a good look at them. Now, you might say nothing extraordinary about that. Well, I got news for you. And if you're a smoker, it'll be the best bit of news you've had in 10 years or more. These new Winfields are 40 cents. That's about the price you should be paying for a good smoke. But have a go at the length of them. This would have to be the best cigarette value in Australia today. No risk. And it's not just the extra length. It's a good tobacco. Mild, quality all the way. Well, how good's that for 40 cents? Anyhow, just to give these new Winfields a bit of a welcome, I'll hand you back to Boris and the boys in the band. Let her rip, Boris, old son. Anyhow, have a Winfield.
It was the dawning of the ochre revolution and a new style of advertising that spoke with the voice of the consumer and not the advertiser. Advertising that not only made the audience feel good, but also made them proud of being Australian. And Winfield, by the way, became the market leader. The trailblazer agency in terms of opera advertising style was called Mojo, named after Alan Morris Mo and Alan Johnson Joe, the two founders. And their slogan was, if you can sing it, you can bloody well remember it. They did wonderful jingles for brands like Tui's, I Feel Like a Tui or Two. They created Come On Aussie, Come On for Kerry Packer's World Series cricket. I Can Feel a 4X Coming On was another song. They did wonderful ads for Meadowlee Margarine. They brought Paul Hogan back for the Australian Tourist Commission to throw another shrimp on the barbie. And they picked up the Peter Allen song, I Still Call Australia Home, for Qantas, which Qantas used for the next 25 years. By the end of the 80s, they were the biggest agency in Australia, Mojo MDA, and they merged with Chiat Day in Los Angeles. In parallel, there was an agency called the Campaign Palace. They were more cerebral, they were more elegant, they had planners. Great ads are the last thing we do, it said on their letterhead. Now, the only thinking Mo and Joe had to do ever was to come up with a rhyme on the Meadowlee account that rhymed with polyunsaturated, and it took them about 25 seconds. You are to be congratulated. Anyway, in a different way from Mojo, the Campaign Palace shook things up. They did famous work. They set a new standard. They had famous names like Lionel Hunt, Jack Vaughan, Bob Isherwood, Reg Bryson, The Suit, Ron Mather, and they did famous work for Apple Computers, Dunlop Towers Aircraft Carrier, Australian Meat Corp, Ants Pants, etc. And in New Zealand at the same time, the agency, the Blazing the Trail, was not even in Auckland, but in Wellington. Saatchi and Saatchi Wellington, strongly featured in the annals of D&AD and Cannes in the 1980s. Ongoing characters for the product were a bit of their speciality, like Barry Crump for Toyota Hilux and Spot the Dog for New Zealand Telecom. And there was their brilliant Taxi Confessions commercial for LTSA, that's the Land Transport Safety Authority, with the payoff line, if you drink and then take a taxi, you're a bloody genius. And so I think these three trailblazer agencies, no, I've done it again. Between the 1980s and now, right now, it all seems to have come home again. The directness, the simplicity, the single-minded strategies, the relaxed and robust enjoyment of their own Aussiness and Kiwiness, the best work from the best agencies eschews the cliches of Adland. They don't require exotic imagery and never world production wizardry and bullshit. They source their stories about the product from the lives and homes and lingo of normal people.
This place is amazing. You've really outdone yourself this time, babe.
You deserve it.
Mick? Rog? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? Of all the places, look who it is. It's Rog and Diane. G'day. Hey, how'd you get here? Drove? They drove here. Mick? Ken! What are you doing here? What a coincidence! What are you doing here? You, me and Rog, all in the same place. Michael Jamison? Is that you? Yes. As I live and breathe. It's Rog.
What a coincidence. You would not bet that was going to happen, would you?
This
With Rog and Ken.
Let's go to the bar.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah, it's all sealed.
Sealed.
Yeah.
Hi.
G'day.
Tea?
Great. Thanks. So I should be...
I'll let you get back to it.
Do you really want me hanging out at your place when you're at work?
Do it yourself before someone does it for you. Selly's 3-in-1.
Now, the Gunn Report tallies up points across 4 disciplines: film, print, digital, and All Guns Blazing, name coined by Emma. And All Guns Blazing, in fact, is our term for what the award shows variously call integrated, multimedia, innovated, even titanium, and et al. And I'll show you how the points across the 4 disciplines break down in the last 3 years, and this is for the whole world. So most of the points in film, print 22%, digital 21%, and all guns blazing 17%. That was already up at 21% in 2013, and we're pulling it up as fast as good work emerges from good judges. But in Australia and New Zealand, it's a bit different because the percentage of points coming from all guns blazing compared to 17 for the whole world are 26 and 33. So it does seem that the agencies there are particularly brilliant in integrated campaigns involving also non-traditional media, often media that they invent themselves in order to come up with brainwaves out of no one has ever been before for their clients. For instance, this is for tours in Queensland, and they want to establish the islands of the Great Barrier Reef as a must-go-to one-day holiday destination. So they created this best job in the world, and this was advertised in help wanted columns in lots and lots of local newspapers all around the world, advertising the job of the island's caretaker. And the press and the TV thought this was a great story, especially in the middle of winter and times of unemployment. In this case, 1.2 million of media and production budget, because small ads are not very expensive, resulted in an estimated 100 million of free media coverage. There were 34,000 applicants from 201 countries, and a Brit won. This is also from Australia, and it's for 4 and 20 meat pies. They took the view that society should leave guys alone for 5 minutes to enjoy their unpretentious, honest, and satisfying lunch. So they created the magic salad plate. And this had a 3D model side so that pie eaters appeared to be eating salad as well. And this resulted in women giving, you know, their telephone numbers and all sorts of stuff like that. It was a simple promo item, but it generated mega news and talk show coverage. They sold 25,000 plates, but more importantly, sales responded with a 40% increase in single serve and 21% in 4-packs. Now, rugby is the official religion in New Zealand, and Adidas, by means of nanotechnology, enabled thousands of Kiwi rugby fans to have their names etched into the thread that was going to be used to make the iconic all-black jerseys. And this was supported in web films, press ads, posters, PR, and also massive free media coverage, and also demonstrated that impossible is nothing. What's more, babies born on the day of the 2008 test matches were issued with a special little free baby jersey in all black colours, thus creating the next generation. They're also not afraid to go for the composition by the jugular rather. And this is for NRMA car insurance. Now, people tend to think all car insurances are the same, i.e. all as bad as each other. So they had the idea to identify all the car parts that other insurers don't cover, and then they built a car from these parts in full public view on the web, with cameras streaming the build, and people even voting on which parts should be used in what places. Result, 3 million plus customer inquiries in 8 months in a market of 4.8 million available car owners. And this is for a bank, if you can believe it. You know, people think badly of insurance companies, they sure think badly of banks. This campaign from National Australia Bank let the public witness NAB break up with 3 other big banks over fee fixing and monopoly tactics, and they dumped them in the course of a day-long happening. It started with a Dear John letter in all the newspapers, and then there were 60 different films made of people breaking up with other bankers, posted online, And they interrupted other banks' events with stunts and flyby and sail-by banners. It was gleefully carried by the TV news bulletins and talk shows. It attracted 180,000 new bank-to-bank customers within 11 weeks. And also, they sometimes come up with ideas that have truly global impact. This is WWF Earth Hour. In the initial Sydney event took place in 2007, and that shows you the idea that Leo Burnett Sydney and Andy Ridley, who's the co-founder of WWF, came up with, which was to persuade the business residents of Sydney to switch off their lights for 1 hour. A year later, it was adopted in London and New York. This year, on March the 29th, people in over 7,000 towns and cities in 160 countries turned their lights off for Earth Hour. And so I think that that does show that all guns blazing is kind of the story these days. Now, I thought we should just pop in 2 more slides, which will show you who the agencies were last year in each country who delivered this great performance. These are all that got more than 9 points or more in the Gunn Report, so there were 6 in Australia and 3 in New Zealand. And I think we'll just finish with 2 more spots, which once again exemplify our main theme, which is how Australian and Kiwi advertising found its own voice. And the same thing happened in a different way in Brazil and Japan and Thailand and Argentina and France, for instance. But in their case, clean, simple, direct thinking wrapped up in their wholehearted enjoyment of their very own lifestyle, landscape, vernacular, and culture.
Bugger. Bugger me. Bugger. Easy now, son. Ooh, bugger.
You burnt.
Bugger.
Bugger. Bugger.
And the next one's from Australia, featuring the town of Ballarat.
And what a day it's been. One word for it, absolutely magnificent. We saw beards you could throw a dart at, 0 penetration. We heard from John Coulson, getting your arm in is a lot easier than getting it out, apparently. Those who'd rather eat an off prawn than submit to quiche. Scale breakers, salad dodgers. We were treated to the guys that shut their eyes and go in windmill punching. Paul Pascoe, forgotten but not gone, and Terry what's his name. And of course, the Dazzers, the Shazzers, the Gazzers, the Bazzers, they're all here today.
The miniature Backfiners.
I hope you're watching. On debut, the Manscapers. Tireless hours with the razor. Smooth to the touch.
Hunting above their weight.
And of course, some missing links. Performing modern miracles.
The people who dream of shopping at
Touching moments of reflection. Upholders of a great Australian tradition. We saw some true larrikins and some true heroes of the day. The men that brew the beer we drink. And nearing the victory now, cashed up bogans, popular at the bar, new money. And it all goes to prove it doesn't matter what banner you march under, doesn't matter who you are. VB, the drinking beer. That's what it's for, Australia.
Thank you very much.